Lexington Gold is a gold exploration and development company with projects in North and South Carolina in the US. However, today it's told investors about a potential deal that gives the company exposure to significant gold assets in South Africa. I'm delighted to be joined by the Chief Executive, Dr. Bernard Olivier. So, Bernard, I'm looking at today's announcement about the proposed acquisition of White Rivers Exploration Proprietary. I wasn't put off by the 17 pages because it was very helpful with appendix and glossary and pictures, but I'll let you summarize what this means for shareholders and whether proposed means will happen eventually.
Good morning, Sarah, and thanks for the opportunity to also explain and talk about this major development for Lexington a bit more. As you pointed out, it is quite a lengthy announcement, and I think I would like to just simplify it and summarize it to your viewers a bit, which will then highlight just the opportunity that it is for Lexington to truly transform it. The transaction effectively is with an Australian legend called Mark Creasy, and Mark has established quite a few years ago, almost 10 years ago, a company called White Rivers Exploration, or WRE, with significant assets in South Africa. And effectively, the transaction is a share-based transaction, 6.4 million shares, 6.4 million pounds worth of shares that will be issued to Mark Creasy as part of this transaction. So predominantly share-based only. And that is for the acquisition of the entire White Rivers Exploration Company. And these shares will be issued when certain milestones are reached. And those milestones, as defined in the announcement, are predominantly the renewal of certain licenses and certain approvals getting done. On top of that, once there is 1 million ounces of JORC or code compliant resources established by us, Mark Creasy will also get additional share options that are activated at 7.5p. And if he exercises all of those options, it will bring in another over 8 million pounds into Lexington. So it's all structured, milestone-based and share-based, so that there's all the upside for our shareholders.
So Mark Creasy, I've been doing sort of Google and Wikipedia searches on him, and the word Midas, as in Mark Creasy's got the Midas touch, keeps coming up time and time again. He's going to become a major shareholder in the company. Are we talking TR1 type shareholder here?
Oh, absolutely. He will most likely become our largest shareholder. He also, as part of this transaction, once completed, will get a board seat on Lexington. And you're absolutely right, especially in Australia, Mark is considered the most successful prospector and mining entrepreneur in many circles. You're also right, the Midas touch has been often associated with him in various news articles. So Mark Creasy is extremely well renowned in the Australian mining industry. And it is also evident from the package that he's put together here in South Africa, comprising, 37 million ounces potentially. Although it's currently non-code compliant, it is a huge asset base that he has, gold assets in South Africa.
That's what I was going to ask you about. Talk to me about the gold assets you are acquiring. I am interested, of course, in the quality of the package.
It's a tremendous package that's been put together by White Rivers over the years. As I said, about 37 or over 37 million ounces. I mean, it's actually a staggering amount if one steps back and look at it. 37 million ounces in an internal assessment done by White River on these projects. Although it's an internal assessment and it's not code compliant, it is all based on this massive borehole database and geological database that White Rivers has. It's considered to be the biggest database, geological database of the Witwatersrand goldfields. And it's 2,500 individual drill holes and assay results that's sitting in this database. So although it's an internal assessment, it is based on this very large database. White River has also got an active joint venture with Harmony Gold. It's an area next to the existing target mining operations of Harmony. And again, White River has got this time an independently assessed resource, again, not JORC compliant, but a resource that was estimated for WRE of about 6 million ounces into this joint venture. But I've got to just highlight that it's not been officially signed off yet, because Harmony must still validate and confirm the independent resource on their side before it is a sort of compliant and signed off resource. But again, 6 million ounces potentially in a joint venture and 37 million ounces in gold exploration. So it truly is a significant resource and significant potential and change for the company.
So that's tantalizing, but things haven't been signed and sealed yet. So I'm just wondering, what are the next steps to complete that acquisition? Because we're all excited, but it's not yours.
It's very much signed up. All the agreements has been signed. It is, however, subject to shareholder approval. And although the board of Lexington has got the headroom to proceed with this transaction, because of the magnitude of the transaction, we have worked into our agreements that we will need and we want shareholder approval. So that is the major sort of hurdle that we need to achieve for the transaction to be therefore unconditional, other than the usual compliance and regulatory approvals. But it is shareholder approval that is effectively our next step to finalize the transaction.
So you sound pretty confident that that's going to go ahead. So therefore, you must have been thinking about the next steps. So what's the planned work program with the assets post completion of the acquisition, and will it be capital light?
Given this tremendous database that White River has, it is effectively our goal to analyze this database and then to look at the tremendous potential resources that they have in the ground and start to convert that, as we've done in the US, where we've got a JORC compliant resource that we've established, is to convert those non-code internal assessment of the resource into independently signed off code compliant resources. And that is based on not only this tremendous database, but also will be through our own verification drilling, for example. So yes, a lot of work needs to be done on our side to convert these internal targets and exploration targets. In the case of the exploration targets of Prinsstad, it's already independently estimated of between 6 to 62 million ounces, again, staggering, ounces in the ground, but we need to take it a step further and make it code compliant and of an international standard.
So what's going to happen to the assets in the US? Because we're talking about an acquisition that delivers assets on your doorstep. It's sort of you returning home. So what's going to happen to Carolina?
We're still very much progressing with our exploration in the Carolinas. The projects there have been progressing well. We've established our JORC resources, and it's really been sort of the foundation of Lexington to date. This is, however, a step change for us. We've currently got in the US, we've got, let's say, 250,000 ounces, and suddenly we are talking millions of ounces potentially in the ground that we would like to convert to JORC compliant resources.
So therefore, is this the deal that will enable you to transition from junior miner to something larger?
It very much is just that. It's a step change taking us to a completely different level. The ounces in the ground in WRE is tens of millions of ounces potentially. So this takes us from a junior explorer into a far, far larger company with potentially multi-million ounces in the ground.
Thank you very much, Bernard Olivier. Dr. Bernard Olivier, Chief Executive of Lexington Gold. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks for having me.